Hi everyone, the world of cloud computing, and welcome to episode 9 of the Cloud Computing Australia show with Brad Nelson and the world's #1 cloud industry expert and thought leader, David Linthicum. This show is sponsored by Nelson Hilliard, cloud computing recruitment specialists, placing great people in cloud, IoT, fintech and AI. In this week's show, David and I are talking about Australia's national security strategy, which was launched in April 2016, and it's noted that there is a growing trend of groups and individuals to use encryption to hide illegal activity and motivate others to join their cause. Hi Dave, great to see you. How's it going?
Great to see you too. I think this is a great topic. This is kind of as we're talking about cybersecurity and terrorism, and really kind of trying to strike a balance between the two: the ability to kind of keep things private and the ability to kind of fight illegal activities and terrorism. It's the governments are asking for the encryption keys, and this is a big debate within the United States. And it's kind of interesting that Australia went ahead and moved forward with this, and without much pushback. I think that if this occurred in the States, people would be screaming bloody murder. So this is kind of a difference between the two countries.
This is obviously directed at the use of cloud computing. What should Australian businesses consider around using encryption services that the government can bypass?
Well, I don't think they have much of a choice. But the problem is, we live in a global economy, and as we, start putting business data into the cloud, the obvious desire is going to be to encrypt that data, because we don't want people seeing it. Either, bad guys. We don't want to see the data, hackers, but also the government as well, because we don't, the United States, that's just kind of no good that the government's is able to see, every bit of data around businesses that are putting things in the cloud. And this actually may cause people not to use the cloud because the accessibility in terms of your ability to kind of get at information, you probably don't want people to get at. So there's lots of downstream scary things that can occur, probably not in Australia, but more so in some of the other countries out there. And, certainly, if you do business in China, the government's going to have your encryption keys, and they're going to have to see your data, and they're going to, call through your records and things like that. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to trust your government to do the right things if they're going to actually, keep those keys. But it's still disconcerting ultimately that this is something, that the government is requiring. But, if you go to the European countries, they do this all the time, and the companies there that, I consult with don't seem to have an issue with it. China certainly doesn't seem to have an issue with it. I'm not sure about Japan, but I suspect they won't have an issue with it. It doesn't look like people in Australia have an issue with it as well. I just think we have to be able to do the cross auditing, the ability to audit the auditors. So if the government's coming into our records and they're encrypting, decrypting our information and looking at it for whatever reasons, they're looking for, bad guys and terrorism and all that, probably for some good reasons, but we should be able to audit them back and be able to understand how they're accessing the information, when they're doing it, why they're doing it, under what legal reason they're doing it, and ensure that we're actually kind of protecting the information. And also, as encryption gets better, good luck keeping up government, because as we, basically start updating our security systems and our identity access management systems, and our encryption gets much more sophisticated, they're going to have to keep up. And if they can't keep up, we can't expose our data to hackers just because they're too slow, to get into the newer technology. So that's going to be an issue going forward as well.
Yeah, you're right. I think the hackers and keeping up with the hackers is one of the major problems that, we have. And Attorney General George Brandis said that the government needs to find appropriate legal powers to access communications that send end-to-end encryption by criminal groups. And I think it's the interception of information that they're finding so important, and it's an obligation to citizens. But, where do you draw the line on what information is actually, needed by the government, other than just, random things that they're picking up on? What do you think?
I think there has to be a clear demarcation line with what information they need to look at. I think there has to be a probable cause reason. That's kind of a US-based legal term. In other words, there's a reason why they're looking at my data and decrypting my data without my knowledge, or even with my knowledge. And there's some sort of warrant that's looked at by a judge to make sure that there's oversight with the security agencies that are out there, in essence, exploring, what I'm doing within my business. bigger concerns is PII information, the ability, financial information that really is nobody's business but the people who own the data. All these sorts of things really kind of come into bear. And I'm okay with doing this if we have to do it, other than the fact I think there should be some processes and due process in place. Judges should be looking at this, and there should be some oversight in terms of how people are, getting into this information and looking at it. And we got a big thing now was just, revise the legal authority for the NSA to call through our emails. And chances are, I don't care if they look at my emails, but chances are they're not looking at my emails, they're looking at other people's emails. But it is pretty scary that anything I put out there in the cloud, whether it's on an email server or a web server or even an accounting system, that people need to know about that or can know about it, on demand. And it kind of goes against, what privacy is about and, kind of freedom and those sorts of things. And it really kind of comes into bear. They would argue that, well, we need to understand that and have access to the information because of terrorism, legal activity, things like that we need to get in the way of to protect you, the citizen. I get it. But okay, just put a due process in place, make sure you're going through the right court authorities, make sure I'm informed if I'm able to be informed so I understand what you're doing. I think it's perfectly fine with me. And we're okay with it. But, this kind of scary, we're going to decrypt what we need to. We're not going to tell you. We're going to get, secret FISA courts, which is kind of a thing in the United States. That probably won't jive with the U.S. public for very long, or the Australian public for very long, and they'll push back on it. It becomes too invasive.
Yeah, it's evading that line, drawing that line, isn't it, of where at what point we're going to stop everything being available, and it's not even consensually available. They can just go through whatever they want, whenever they feel like it, and put together whatever they want, really. Admittedly, to stop terrorism and to counteract terrorism, it's a very good thing. But essentially, you want to know kind of you're being investigated at least, and why, not just something, get a letter through the door and say, oh, by the way, you sent an email 3 weeks ago. We're not quite happy with that content, and we'd like to see you down the police station. Not saying I do those sort of emails, and I'm not saying you do either. So, but I'm just saying in general, is that what it's going to come to, Dave? Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And I think we're going to get some probably false accusations that are pointed at people because of issues around technology, misunderstandings, things like that. They're going to start coming up because we may not have the best and the brightest in the government that are looking at this stuff, and looking at the information and making sense of it. And I think that we're going to have probably some counter lawsuits, at least in the United States, and I think Australia as well, where the government is in essence overstepping what their authority is, or at least in the mind of the companies, and they're suing them, and the government has to answer those lawsuits. And so I'm not sure about the Australian government in terms of your ability to sue the government, but we do so here in the States all the time, and it becomes law. Precedence moves up, and a lot of things are changed because of actions of the U.S. citizens. And also, democracy, which Australia is, you can vote in the people who are looking to support encryption or not encryption based on, their stance. And that's kind of how you change things going forward. But if the government's going to do it, then, go ahead and do it. Just don't step on our rights. Understand what they need to do. Make sure that they use due process. They're involving the right courts and judges. There's some oversight to make this happen.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. Well, Dave, thanks very much for being part of the Cloud Computing Australia this week. It's great to have you on board always. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much, Dave.
Thank you. I'm going to go hide my data now.
Yeah, go hide your data, lock it down, delete it, put it on some sort of private cloud or something like that. Excellent. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. It's been a great week this week, and we've got some cool things coming up with some special guests as it's 2018, so really looking forward to that. But you can catch David on Twitter, which is @DavidLinthicum, and you can also catch myself on Twitter, which is Nelson_Hilliard. Thanks again for watching.